I cried all day that first Wednesday. It was spectacular. The best day I'd had at school since I'd come back. Big time fun, and all it cost me was another sleepless night of telling Janet through the baby monitor how much she'd ruined everything until I passed out in the pre-dawn blackness. It was nice. Like the previous day shit, like most good things in my life, Wednesday's successfully marvelous antics didn't come as the result of carefully calculated planning but from luck, the ability to adapt, and an Amazon's crazy and arbitrary rules being turned against them. Tuesday, I'd been super tired, punch-drunk even. Everything was numb, emotionally speaking, except for that strange giddy thrill of taking a risk. Even then, the rush was felt through a filter. I still didn't feel real. My brain had been in a kind of fog with a half-inch layer of cellophane around my personal reality. Good things had happened. Wednesday went to a whole new level but in the opposite direction. Why is Clark crying? Ivy asked when the bus pulled up and Littles started getting loaded off. Tears were running down my face. Big ones. Dripping ones. My breathing was fine, more or less, save for the massive amounts of snot building up and pouring onto my upper lip. I didn't scream or wail or bawl. I just cried. I can't even say why I felt like crying. I was standing there in my Odyssey and sneakers, and I saw both carry out Mandy and Sandra Lynn, and Sandra Lynn's outfit kind of looked familiar in a weird way. Not the design or cut, but a similar color and hue to something this one outfit that, never mind. Mommy. Ivy kept tugging at Zoe's dress. She actually let go of my hand so that she could point to me. Why is Clark crying? Whatever Zoe said in reply, I couldn't understand it. Too low. Probably in Yamatoan. The others noticed it too. Clark. You okay? Clark. My mouth drooped lower than the overnight monkeys had in the morning. My breath was coming out in ragged little spurts like a sprinkler. If I ran my tongue past my lips I could taste mucus, and everything from my neck up felt like it was on fire while everything south felt shivery and cold. And it felt great. So alive. The smell of the exhaust. The early morning sun through the treetops. The sounds of birds chirping mixing seamlessly with the fading echoes of students grumbling to the cafeteria for breakfast. I thought about all of it, took it all in, thought about Monday and just let myself go. It was like there was a sunburn on my very soul. Every thought, every emotion led to pain and crying and heartache. It hurt so much, but in that hurt I knew myself to be well and truly alive. I could have stopped, I supposed, but why would I? Stopping the crying would have been like stopping sex before orgasm. The feelings and pressure would have still been bottled up inside me and I would have been left feeling stunted and disturbed. And like laughter, this sadness doubled over and looped back in on itself, like when you laugh at a joke so hard that you stop laughing at the punchline and start laughing at yourself for laughing so long and hard. I wasn't just crying, I was crying at myself. If you can't cry at yourself, who can you cry at? Mrs. Zoj, both said after taking stock of the situation. Take Chaz's stroller please. Woohoo. Chaz pumped his fists in the air. Front of the line. Now everybody's got a look at the back of me for once. I didn't move. Didn't need to. Both picked me up and draped me over her shoulder. She started gently rubbing my back and shushing me. It's okay, baby. It's okay to feel sad. Just let it all out. Be in your feelings. I was being picked up. I was being carried. Both was having to adapt to me. She was reacting to me. Even as I cried, there was this detached bit of reptile brain still calculating behind my own weeping eyes. A rainforest or a brolish would have shoved a gagging pacifier into my mouth and left it there until I became mute and compliant. Both considered herself one of the good ones, and in that perception she had a weakness. Her own particular brand of Amazon crazy wouldn't let her treat me like a hostage. I wasn't actively resisting, so I had to be tolerated. I let out a whimper. Not a full wail, just enough to work my lungs and be heard by those listening. Just enough to keep the negative feedback loop going. I didn't raise the volume in the cafeteria. No one would reasonably accuse me of attention-seeking or making a scene. I wouldn't resist. No accusing me of being disobedient or willful. As far as they could claim, I was just a sad baby. Who knew why babies cried? Certainly not because of deep existential pain at having most of their personal identity invalidated and the love of their live. The point was I'd found a way to argue from a position of strength. To Bof's and Zoj's thinking, it didn't matter if I was turning myself into an inconvenience. There was no rule against crying. So I cried while I was fed dry cereal. Others fed themselves, being allowed to pick with their hands. I sat there and cried and made Bof have to spoon feed me. That only gave me more fuel to cry. The bitterness of my new lot made excellent fuel. I cried on the way out. I cried during circle time, not singing along, and just buried my face in my hands and rubbed my eyes. Every now and then I'd let out a few muffled sobs to keep my physiology primed. Simple really. Elementary, even. I wept during centers. Clark. Bof asked. What's wrong? Can you talk to me? Could I talk? Yes. Would I talk? No. They'd get my noise, but not my speech. Not at all. I allowed a Cass. And then I broke down into bitter sobs before muffling myself so as to pretend not wanting to disturb anyone else. It was amazing. So freeing. Zoj was particularly uncomfortable. Instead of doing our center on making up animals, she gave Ivy crayons and bounced me on her lap. All that did was give me a rhythm to whimper uncontrollably to. Ha ni Tamaru. Hapa ni Akitara Sakura to Asabu. Sakura no Hana no Ueda. Teishi shite shite Teishi. The Yamatoan nursery rhyme didn't have the desired effect on me. It only made me remember when Zoj of all people had watched out for me and saved me from this exact fate. Perfect crying fuel. My sadness spread like a plague throughout the room. Eyes were on me. Faces frowning. Uncomfortable sighs and glassy eyes. My classmates weren't as hardened as they might have wanted me to think. Clark. Chaz shouted across the room. Dude. Get over. He looked me in the eye and stopped. Never mind. He muttered. I still don't know what he saw in my eyes, the wonderfully vibrant anger and pain I was drawing from or the sadistic lizard king taking pleasure at everyone else's reaction to it. Neither. Both. Nothing worked. Bottles, candies, both sour and sweet, toys, pacifiers, trips to the changing table. None of it was resisted or refused. None of it worked, either. Janet clicked in on heels and held me softly during her lunch break. It was nice. Comfy. Didn't stop me at all, though. It was too nice knowing I was interrupting her lunch break. It was too nice to stain her blouse with tears knowing that she'd look down after her wasted time off and be unable to get the image out of her head. So sweet. So sweet. Both tried again by taking me out of the room, across the walkway and to the playground. Fresh air, middle of the day, relative privacy. I kept sniffling and gasping for air. I still hated that place. I wasn't sure why, but just being there on that perfectly made playground bothered me in ways I couldn't quite articulate at my best. Bad move, Bof. I know you're feeling really bad today, Clark, she told me. I think I know why. Your mommy told me the other night. Your old house. Around. She paused, clearly choosing her words carefully. I know you've lost a lot. You're going through a lot. It's okay to feel these feelings. It's perfectly natural what you're going through. The grief was natural. The cause was anything but. With everything flowing out of me at that moment, I hit a kind of rock-bottom clarity. The most bitter, angry, resentful parts of me held their tongue and didn't refute, even internally, Bof's claims. She did know what I was going through. It was her job to know what I was going through. She very likely had a variation of this talk with every little that came into her life at some point or another. It was very unlikely that I was her first student to go through this kind of grief. I just wanted to tell you, she stopped and course-corrected. Ask you. Her lips pursed. I wanted to tell you that if there was anything you wanted to talk about, I'll listen. Your mommy, Mrs. Zoj, and I care a lot about you and know you're in a lot of hurt. She placed a hand on my thigh. Did you know that? Sitting on the bench where she and Zoj camped every afternoon, just me and Bof. Looking down at my legs, I continued to sniffle, quietly percolating the next phase of my strategy. No strategy beyond waiting for the opening. If there's anything you want to say, anything at all, you can tell me anytime. You can say Mrs. B, I need to talk, and I can bring you right out here where no one will be able to interrupt us and I'll listen. It'll be just the two of us. Just you and me. You can say anything you want and I'll listen. I looked down at my lap. Gingerly, I mirrored my fingers and thumbs together into a circle, as if I were holding a toasty mug of freshly brewed coffee. Just me and her. Just like old times. That thought gave me enough fuel to rack my entire body. Not disturbing anyone else, I gave myself the freedom to scream so hard that my uvula rattled in my throat. It was a mighty bellow from my perspective, a lion's roar mixed with a whale's song. My old mentor shifted me over to her lap and hugged me, shushing me gently in an attempt to soothe me, attempting to quiet me moments after she'd reminded me of her own betrayal. I went into the nap room, early and alone, them hoping that I'd cry myself out and go to sleep till at least lunch. Tracy slipped in looking worse than she had on Monday. Her face had lines of concern and worry etched all over it. I'd seen this face from her before, usually when she had concerns for one of our students. "Hey boss," she whispered. "Mrs. Both gave our room a call. Even got permission from Ambrose to borrow me." She scoffed and let out a bitter chuckle. "Pretty sure Ambrose thinks I'm ripping you a new one." She got out of her own head. "What's up?" Nothing. Nothing was up. I was just crying. The tweener reached through the bars and offered her hand. I didn't take it. I still needed to cry, had to keep the streak up, and the later in the day it got the more demanding it was becoming. Had to keep the game going. "I know about your house," Tracy told me. "I heard about Cassie." Damn. Just came right out and said it. Tracy was always too blunt, too honest to read the room. Thanks, Tracy. I needed that fuel. I needed that honesty. Words didn't even attempt to form in my mouth. Unless those words were "Yue," and clapping my hand over my mouth when a particularly powerful surge welled up in me. "Thank you, Tracy." "That sucks," Tracy said. Understatement of the lifetime. It more than sucked. It more than sucks. Sucks doesn't cut it. Could Tracy read my mind? I just suck at coming up with better words. "Do you wanna talk about it?" I did not and made no effort. "No." "Okay. I get it." She reached in and grabbed my hand anyways. "Look, Clark. I messed up. I'm gonna try and make it right. I'm gonna find her, boss. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it. Simple as that." She gave my hand a squeeze. I didn't squeeze back. "I don't know what will happen after I find her, but we'll go from there."